AI Marketing Podcast.
Corey, great to have you here, man. How you doing?
I'm great, man.
Great
Good
to have you on the
Yeah,
pod.
yeah.
Saw you second time this year.
Yeah.
Earlier at the Committed Mastermind.
Yeah, down in Cancun.
Yeah, great to have you here again.
Thank
And so I was talking to you a little bit before the episode just to learn a little bit more about how your year's been, what you've been working on, and also how things are shifting in your practice. Last time we had you on the webinar with our community, we were talking about gifting and how gifting is like kind of a secret way into your ICP, into their hearts and minds, right?
Yes.
And so like, could you kind of tell me about, how your journey's evolved this year and kind of what you're working on now?
Yeah, so ever since I left Scorpion back in 2021, I've been focusing on helping agencies to get a competitive advantage, to grow more systematically through scaling by specializing in a vertical market, right? So it's the idea of you go from being a generalist, serving all people, doing all that different types of services, to choosing a vertical market, position yourself, and then beginning to build scale and repetitive systems in your business as a result. That's been my focus. One of those tactics, by the way, is the gift-based outbound piece, which is a great way to get appointments with VIP prospects. And I've been evolving my business to include not only the positioning and the messaging, what I call deep specialization, but now also helping agency founders who are likely stuck in the sales role, helping them to escape the sales motion by building sales systems for them. Yeah.
All right. And I talked to Andrew earlier today. He was on the podcast and he was Beefy Marketing talking about actually how that was a big problem for him. Was really getting himself out of that and also improving his team in the way that they're able to elevate their sales culture. So talk to me more about that. Like, what do you think is kind of like when you come into an agency, what are some of like the most common problems that you're seeing founders deal with beyond just founder-led sales? And then how are you helping them escape that?
So usually someone comes into my world when they are, the revenue is flatlined. Maybe they've hired a sales team and then fired them. Maybe hired SDRs and then fired them. And they really want to get to that next level. Usually the problem is either a positioning problem, meaning they're serving too many different types of people, which of course locks the founder in the sales role, but also makes it difficult for them to grow. Or they are truly caught in that founder role when it comes to sales. So the typical evolution of an agency is that you have a subject matter expert, someone who loves websites, someone who loves SEO, someone who loves, some aspect of digital marketing. They'll typically moonlight as a way to get their business going, and then they eventually quit their day job, start working, and they start hiring employees, they start bringing on clients. And inevitably, what a big challenge, a very common challenge, is that because the founder is so technically oriented, they understand websites, they understand all these things at a deep level, they're usually the most effective person when it comes to selling. So they build a sales system around their expertise. Of course, when they try to hand that off to an SDR or a salesperson who doesn't have that same background, doesn't have that same level of expertise, it becomes much more challenging to do that successfully. One of the core challenges in that setup is the fact that the sale is way too technical as it is. Usually if you're selling to local businesses, you're not selling to technical buyers. You're a technical seller, but you're selling to a non-technical buyer. And so when you have a overly complicated technical sales pitch, usually you're talking over people. And so one of the things that we do in the work that I do with my clients is helping them to build a problems-focused sales process instead of a technical-focused sales process. We do things like build sales systems and signature systems and all those things as well. But that's the first piece, is moving from a technical sale to a problem sale.
So that aligns kind of well with SPIN, which is like, let me find, I forget what it stands for.
Simple situation, problem, implication, and need.
And a big part is like, what's that problem that they're facing? Let's get that out of them. Let's get them to talk about it. And you can also see their body language reflect that problem when they step into that problem space. And then kind of help them understand that our solution is that solution to their problem. Speak back to that.
So what I teach, what I coach my clients to do is, instead of asking the prospect what their problems are, you actually present the three most common problems people like you, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, come to me to solve. So an example might be, let's say you're an attorney and you're struggling with your marketing, and I may say, Manick, the reason why attorneys just like you, personal injury attorneys just like you, come to us is because they're struggling with one of these three things. They're either not getting enough leads, the leads they're getting are not the right ones, or they just don't understand what is actually happening with their marketing. Do any of these sound familiar?
Right.
And then as a result of being able to name those problems, you begin a dialogue. And then we also ask, what other problems are you struggling with, right? And you go through that problem discovery conversation, focused on where they're at. And then the next thing we talk about is we've developed a signature system called the personal injury case generator system that solves these three problems. Would you like me to tell you about that? Right? So all of a sudden, they understand you're an expert because you understand their problems.
Yes.
It's for their industry, and you also have built a custom solution for that industry.
Yeah.
No longer are you selling SEO and PPC and all these commoditized services. You're selling a signature system that's built specifically for that buyer.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then every agency owner that has gone that route to be hyper specialized kind of knows when you go into, let's say, a process with a prospect, and they've got option A agency and option B agency.
Yes.
The first agencies to lose are the ones that are the generalists.
Yes.
Because they immediately have this perspective that the agency that understands personal injury law, that's the one I want to work with, because he's not selling me SEO.
Right.
He's selling me a bespoke marketing apparatus that has been dialed in for my ICP, and he's speaking to my problems. He understands me. And then the close rate goes way up, and the sales process is way shorter.
Correct. And it doesn't rely on having to do like big technical audits as part of a sales process. You can do that, but the default, the way it's taught today is, let me do a discovery call, let me understand where you're at, what you want, and let me go away and do an audit, and then I'll come back and we'll meet again, we'll go through the audit, which again is an audit-based technical sale, which in most cases, it depends on who your buyer is, but most cases, that's overkill. You don't necessarily need that to close the deal.
Right. So how technical do they really need to be?
So how I approach this with my clients is, you want to go with the minimum, the minimum viable audit, MVA is what I call it. And what that means is, you don't pitch an audit as part of the sales process. When you reveal the price based on what they told you that what they want, you feedback what they told you they want. So you want these amount of cases in this service area, you want a great team, so on and so forth. Did I get that right? Yes. Here's the price. Are you ready to get started? That's usually when you begin to see the objections, the sales objections, when you ask for the business. And they may say, oh, well, I need to talk to my partner, or I need to understand what you're going to do when we get started, so on and so forth. Sometimes that results in an audit. Instead of just going, great, give me the logins, we're going to do a big audit, we'll come back. We ask, happy to do an audit if that's what you want, but what specifically are you looking for in an audit? Like, what are you looking, what kind of information do you want to see? Because the default is create a 30-page audit, go into massive detail, when in reality, chances are they only want a little bit of information about one part of that audit. So you want to ask them ahead of time, a minimum viable audit is that specific audit that will help them to get past that objection so they can move forward in the sale.
The purpose of the audit is a sales tool, this audit is not for the fulfillment team, for the do-it team.
No.
This is just a asset to be used in the sales process to get the prospect to believe that we really understand them and understand that we're going to take care of it.
Yes. And in many cases, you don't have a technical buyer. And if you don't introduce an audit as part of your sales process, they're never going to notice, right? Because they're not going to be looking for that.
Makes sense. So you install the sales systems.
Yes.
You help the team get on board. How long does it take for the sales team before you can really see some of the transformational results?
Yeah. So it's kind of, it's what I call a J curve, which is at first, everything is new, that it's unfamiliar. The way I teach it is, we teach the founder to actually run the new sales process, show that it works, record everything, and then use that as the basis to start to train the sales team. Because it's new, results don't happen automatically, right? You have to train them. They have to get enough reps and enough experience in the new system. So usually it's maybe 3 to 4 months of testing, getting on board. But then after that, you see a massive increase in the results from the process. Awesome. Yeah.
What about AI? Like where are you using AI in this process to help the sales system really?
AI is amazing in sales. It's a really powerful tool to help companies sell better. And one of the ways that we do that is through sales coaching, right? And so what you could do is you could train the AI on your prospects, especially if you have a verticalized buyer. So if you're just talking to attorneys, you train them what the attorneys care about. You train them on how they would act in a sales call. And all of a sudden you have a great sales trainer for maybe junior salespeople to have a safe environment to get actual real-time mock calls and feedback from the AI. So it's very, very powerful for that. Cool. Another great way to use AI is obviously you want to record all sales calls, and then you want to use AI to be a coach post-mortem to understand what are the things you did well, what are the areas where maybe you need to change or do things differently in the next sales call.
That's huge. Yeah. And we started doing that.
Yeah.
And actually, initially, the sales team was actually a little worried that they were like, wait, this is way more open kimono, way more revealing.
Yes.
Now we're being graded on our calls.
Yeah.
So there's an initial hesitation. Yes. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
That happens?
You have to frame it as this is a way for us all to get better, for us to share best practices. And so as a result of doing this training and being exposed in these ways, you're gonna, at the end of the day, make more commissions. And that's what a good salesperson wants, is they're money motivated. They want to make more money. So the right one for your team is going to be one who is open to feedback and wants to improve.
They want to grow.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's what we learned very quickly is once we started enabling it and creating a discussion around the sales recaps and the audit that we did based on that framework.
Yes.
Then the sales team actually started to gamify it. It became a game of like,
amazing.
How do I optimize my score? How do I get a higher score?
Yes.
And what gets measured gets improved.
Right.
And if you're measuring the right things in the right way, you see the outcomes start to line up. And so our sales team, we started to find close rates went way up.
Yeah.
I think 50, 60% higher close rates.
That's awesome.
Just the outcomes of those calls.
Yes.
Catalytic.
Another thing about salespeople, I've been a salesperson for 30 years. And at Scorpion, we grew the sales team from 6 people to 100 people. So I have a lot of experience with this. What I know is true is that salespeople thrive off of momentum, right, and confidence. They perform better on sales calls. They're going to perform better against their quotas. And so when you have an open environment, that's one that's based on growth and learning and openness, you build that momentum, which becomes unstoppable.
For sure. And do you take and now I'm getting a little more tactical. Do you take the transcripts and do you take the ICP data? Do you feed it into a custom GPT?
Yeah, 100%.
It just helps you understand
That's
more
right.
The psychographics of the customers.
1,000%. What we're interested in the sales process is how do we articulate the problems that they're facing and how do we name our system in a way that they get it in their body. When they hear the name of the system or they hear the problems that we solve, the words that we use, if done well, will cause them to have an emotional reaction, which is exactly the thing we want to create. And so we're going to get there, you're right, by taking those recordings and feeding it in, trying to extract what are those core problems they're struggling with, how do they phrase that, what does that mean at a deeper level, because we can use that in the sales process.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
And as you've been doing that, what are some kind of unusual things that just jumped out at you, or maybe it's client specific, maybe it's not? I'm just curious what you're seeing.
Well, I think the most profound thing you could do is to use their language, right? And so when you go from being the salesperson or the company to being really an advocate for them and using their language, psychologically, they're going to lower their resistance. They're going to lower their hesitation, and they're going to believe on multiple levels that you really truly do understand me. And when you have that level of trust, it's much easier to make a sale because they believe that you know how to solve those problems.
Right. And you know their business too.
It's extremely important. That goes back to the foundational elements of having a specialization. When you are working with attorneys over and over and over again, you begin to really understand their world at a deep level, not just at the context of PPC or SEO, but the context of running a law firm. And really, that's what they need, because they go to law school to become a lawyer, not to become a marketer. And so the real value that you're able to provide through specialization is you're able to give them context for their business, help them to see down the road what to expect and how to make the moves today to help them to get to their goals.
So if you were, let's say this is an interview and I'm applying for a job at your agency, and I'm trying to get a sales job.
Yes.
Like, what are the questions that you're asking someone in that interview, and how do you figure out, is this person going to be a good salesman or not?
Yes.
So probably for you, it's probably muscle memory.
Yeah. Well, so what I'm interested in, so I would ask you questions about a time when you hit quota and what were the conditions, and then a time that you missed quota and what were those conditions. And what I'm looking for is ownership, someone who's taking ownership of their own behaviors and not trying to be the blame game and say, well, this person did this, I couldn't do that, and so on and so forth.
Your lead sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, marketing team sent over shitty leads, and sorry for swearing, by the way. And so, yeah, right, exactly, that type of thing, right? We also want to understand what motivates them. What is the thing that actually, why are they investing in becoming a salesperson? Some people think, well, it's a temporary job, it's a way to make some money. I'm really interested in being a writer or some other thing, which is fine. What I want to hire are people who want to be career salespeople, that they are in love with the art and science of selling, and that they're on a path to improving themselves to the point where they are maybe running a team, those type of things. So I'm looking for someone who sees sales as a vehicle to get them to where they want to be.
Makes sense. We were also looking for, I just noticed historically, finding people that were in the military, people that had a lot of discipline, ROTC, people that were athletes, professional athletes who were willing to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, even on the days when it sucked. Get to work, get kicked in the face and just get back into it, because that's what sales is. You get a lot of rejection.
So I learned something about the community in Salt Lake City, Utah. There's a lot of Mormons in that community. And part of being a Mormon is you come up and you actually go on a mission for 2 years. It's part of your upbringing. And a lot of that mission, if you're familiar, is helping to spread the word about their religion, which is effectively sales. And so as a result of that, they learn a lot of really hard skills. They go and they knock on doors. They actually go through that whole experience. As a result of that, a lot of companies have built sales teams out of that market because they have these amazing skills that translate really well into a
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
My friend Doug Cartwright is an awesome guy.
Yeah.
Doug is a sales trainer for especially specialized in like solar.
Yeah.
And he lives in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Right. And the teams that he's building are all in Salt Lake.
Yes, exactly. So
I guess
it's a wonderful pool.
Yeah, amazing pool of people who are already familiar with that discipline.
Right. Yeah, they have the skills. They're not afraid to pick up the phone. It's part of the culture.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So do you do a lot of recruiting in Salt Lake?
So where possible, yes, because it's natural. In fact, Scorpion, the last company I was with, we built a huge sales floor out of Salt Lake because of that reason.
Now, what's your opinion? Because I know there's like different schools of thought on this, and so like different people have different perspectives, obviously. But do you believe in sales teams US based, or do you think you can build a solid, maybe an SDR team or a sales team offshore?
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible to do it well?
I think it really depends on who you're selling to. What type of product? Are you selling a $250,000 product to doctors? Maybe, maybe not. Or are you selling software or websites to dentists? I'm not sure.
Well, let's say the latter. Like more of like agencies, SaaS.
Yeah. My perspective on this is probably different than others, which is that I'd much rather build a business with serving a smaller handful of A+ VIP clients versus having a huge agency with a lot of volume of clients of varying quality. And so my perspective is that if you want to build a profitable, easy to run, simple business, you just focus on the VIP prospects, the best prospects in the market. And so as a result of that, I'm much more about quality, not quantity.
Yeah.
And so usually that means not necessarily you have to hire domestically, but it matters a lot about who is representing your company, because you're just going after a smaller
if you're going after your dream 100,
yes, exactly.
It's more about like the perfect click resonance between them and your salesperson, and
exactly
that often means domestic.
Yes.
Makes sense. Okay, I want to slightly shift gears and talk to you about, because you've been in the agency space a very, very long time, right? And you and I were riffing on this a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Different people have different perspectives on what's happening to the agency model and where it's heading.
Yeah.
And I want to get your unique perspective on it.
Sure.
I also would love for you to share, like, and this is a separate piece, but why is sales such a human transformational endeavor?
Yeah.
Why is it important for really anyone who's watching this pod, whether you're an agency founder or really anyone, why should you invest in learning sales as a way to just grow your person?
Oh, so there's two things. I'll start with that, which is that sales, when you come from an ethical place, which is of course what we want to do, what sales is effectively helping people to do the things that they're not doing for themselves already. Right? You're helping them to go from a place where they're stuck and broken to a better place. The vehicle to get them there is sales, and so our job is to be persuasive and to help them to get themselves into a better situation. And so that's why I believe that sales is a noble career. It's a noble skill set to have, because you're effectively helping people to get to where they want to go, right? And so that's how I think about the career of sales, and I think it's very powerful. Remind me of the first question.
The first question was on the agency model in the future.
So look, everything is evolving. What I know is that AI has really helped agencies to become much more efficient, let's call it, on content production, on reporting, analytics, pulling insights out of data. Where I recommend, what I encourage my clients to do, is to go upmarket, to create more impact in the clients they're servicing by creating higher ticket offers, by being more consultative versus being more transactional. Because what AI is really good at is actually creating value at the transactional part of the value chain. So as a result of that, you need to find ways to add more profound value with your clients.
Okay. So are you suggesting that if you're an agency, you're tuning in, you're selling, let's say, SEO, PPC services, a couple $100, $500, if that's you, are you suggesting that they should start to look at ways that they can go deeper into their ICP
100%.
and be more transformational?
Right, because we know that people don't buy websites and PPC for that. They don't care about that. They care about the outcome. Well, there is a context for that outcome. Leads that come in, what happens when the phone rings? How do they handle that? What's that experience like? What CRM or platform are you using? Go high level, right? So how can you create a deeper impact in their growth journey, in their revenue growth journey, right? Think about it more globally versus very tactical.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Corey, man, always awesome having this conversation
it's always
with you.
Good talk to you.
Thanks for sharing your insight with us.
Yeah.
And where can people find you online?
Yeah, so the best place is you can go to my website, CoreyQuinn.com. And I also have a book called Anyone, Not Everyone. It is my 5-step process for agencies to escape founder-led sales. And I'd love to give it to your audience for free. You can go to anyonenoteveryone.com. Anyonenoteveryone.com. You can download the audiobook, which is the same audiobook you can get on Amazon, but I'm giving it away for free. You also get a digital workbook, which includes videos and scripts and templates and all those great things. So that's another place.
Amazing. Thank you, Corey. Yeah. We'll pop that in the show notes. Thank you so much, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.